It's time for a real fake news update, not brought to you by Pfizer. Today, we're focusing on the LA fires, which are ongoing right now. We're here in LA. We're watching the town go down in flames. Those of us who are left, we're angry, we're pissed off. And when we see a moment where Newsom gets to the governor of our state, who is, as we know, is nefarious as ever. We've been covering him our whole show. We've been covering all of his nefarious actions, including more recently, the missing $26 billion for homelessness gone, Cayman Islands account, multi-million-dollar homes he's buying. We're seeing a state of emergency for bird flu. You guys remember that? That happened. So we were in a state of emergency before these fires happened. I want to remind people on that timeline. That's important. So what does Newsom do? Of course, he's got to have his photo op. Here's his little photo op where he's pretending. I just take that's just fire and sounds. He's not saying anything. He's just looking like, we'll play that again. He's just looking like he's doing anything. That's his little photo op with the sunglasses and, oh, look what's going on. Oh, look at all those houses burned down. That's great. Okay. Way to go, Newsom. Well, guess who's not taking to Newsom's theater very well? Well, we have Donald Trump. This tweet goes out. One of the best, and this was, I think this was first on his Truth Social. This was Truth. Yeah, you got the red check mark. This is the Truth Social. One of the best and most beautiful parts of the United States of America is burning down to the ground. It's ashes, and Gavin Newsom should resign. This is all his fault. So I guess my question to people is, if you didn't vote for Donald Trump, which we didn't, we're not championing the guy, but if you didn't vote for Donald Trump, or if you did, whatever, either way, where do you think the story is? Do you think the story is, oh my God, Donald Trump used foul language and called him new scum? How dare he does that? Or do you think the story is the things I led in with this show about, where we just told you, we reminded you about the bird flu state of emergency. We remind you about the money laundering. He's got $26 billion missing from homelessness. We remind you about all this stuff. So what do you think CNN is going to do when they send Anderson Cooper out to the fire area, to the disaster zone? As we know, they love sending Anderson Cooper out there to get a interview with Gavin Newsom. If Anderson Cooper's a journalist, then he's going to ask Newsom to answer these questions, regardless if you think Trump is being mean or not. I would assume a journalist is going to ask Newsom about the things I just pointed out. Well, let's see what he actually decides to ask Gavin Newsom about and see Newsom's response. This is what we call theater. This is, as Donald Trump coined back in 2015, this is fake news. Check it out.
We're in the public safety phase.
I hate to even ask this question, but the president-elect chose to attack you, blame you for this.
One can't even respond to it. I mean, people are literally fleeing. People have lost their lives. Kids lost their schools. Families completely torn asunder. Churches burned down. This guy wanted to politicize it. I have a lot of thoughts, and I know what I want to say. I won't. I stood next to a president of the United States of America today, and I was proud to be with Joe Biden. And he had the backs of every single person in this community. He didn't play politics, didn't try to divide any of us.
He stood next to the president of the United States, who flew on in on Air Force One to do his humanitarian, I'm here for all the people. And as Gavin Newsom says, and he's not lying, guys, he's not lying. He told us just now that Biden is for every person here in LA. Everybody's lost their home. He's got their back. You want to take my word for his word? How about we watch what Biden actually said with Newsom standing next to him? This is the actual conversation he's referring to. Here it is.
Notification yesterday that their home was about to burn down. Today, the parents are maybe still standing. I'm not sure. But the good news is, I'm a great grandfather as of today. I have a granddaughter. And a baby girl, a baby boy. So I remember this day for about a long recess. Thank you, Brett.
It's very amazing. Thank you so much, everybody. Make your way out. Thank you, Brett. Thank you so much. Make your way out. Make your way to the park. Please go this way. Thank you.
Brett, going out this way. Walking out. Thank
And that's it. That's it. There's your theater, folks. There's your fake news for the day. Anderson Cooper, Newsom, I hate to ask you this. I hate to ask you, are you upset this bully came after you as he's standing in front of somebody's house burning down behind him as he's smirking and been pretending to be upset by Trump and then assuring us that President Biden has everyone's back, and then cut to a story about Biden becoming a great grandfather. He has nothing more to say. The guy has lost his ability, his mental capacity. No more questions. He's back on Air Force One. He's back to DC, probably back there already right now as we speak. I'm passing you, Craig. I am livid watching this as we're here in LA, watching people's homes and lives burned to the ground as this theater is going on CNN.
Yeah. It's the theater to make us play politics all the time. It's kind of crazy the fact that Gavin Newsom is saying there, I didn't politicize this whole situation. I'm here. These people are lost everything. And this guy just wants to politicize stuff. That's all you do is politicize stuff. I mean, you really, on your tweet, you wrote down that you don't believe in climate change. You don't belong in this discussion. And the same people that control Gavin Newsom are the same people that control Donald Trump. At the end of the day, none of them care for you. And that's what's important to remember, because you're going to see people from both sides who constantly play team sports politicize this situation themselves. You're going to see the Republicans blame the Democrats blame the Republicans, right? And it's just, it's nauseating at this point. And we're not getting transparency at all. And we're just caught in this quagmire of left versus right, team sports at its finest moment, at its highest degree too, as well. But I'm hoping that some people break through, you know what I'm saying? And, I'm going on shows speaking about stuff that the Democrats are still doing to this point, and stuff that the Republicans and the MAGA base are doing, moving into the positions of power. So put your seatbelts on. This is very crazy with this fire here in LA, these fires in LA. And it seems like Lahaina 2.0. I'm getting people texting me right now as they saw us and stuff like, dude, I've been thinking about this. This seems just like Lahaina 2.0. Yeah. Do you see a lot of similarities? And the only thing I could say is, yes, I see a lot of similarities.
Yeah. Look, you can be mad at Trump for language, or sometimes he does present like a businessman. Sometimes he does tend to be about what's the economic problem here, which there is clearly an economic problem. I mean, this can't be nobody's coming out of this okay. All these celebrities, we're going to talk about that in the Hollywood segment about the celebrities losing all their houses and everything. But you can't ignore that Trump called this shit out. He did it again. So he had a press conference today. Let's play a little bit of this. And then I want to talk about the Joe Rogan thing, because this is very interesting. And if we could be a little more honest about how we assess this stuff, again, you didn't have to vote for Trump. You don't even have to like the guy. But if he's calling out the California fire problem and he's calling out Newsom, we need, as independent media people, we need to be honest about how we respond to that and say, is he onto something? Is he actually saying something that we need to listen to?
Believe that federal aid should be provided to California for as long as it takes.
Well, it's very sad, because I've been trying to get Gavin Newsom to allow water to come. You'd have tremendous water up there. They send it out to the Pacific because they're trying to protect a tiny little fish, which is in other areas, by the way, called a smelt. And for the sake of a smelt, they have no water. They had no water in the fire hydrants today in Los Angeles. It was a terrible thing. And we're going to get that done. It's going to finally be done. I got it done from the federal side. And he didn't want to sign it, but it's not going to happen again like that. There's no reason. Can you imagine? You have farmers that don't have any water in California. They have plenty of water. They don't have a drought. They send it out to the Pacific, and it's crazy. So what's happening in California is a true tragedy. I know those areas very well. I have many friends living in those houses. That is a true tragedy. Nobody ever thought. I mean, virtually Beverly Hills and areas around Beverly Hills are being decimated. The biggest homes, some of the most valuable homes in the world are just destroyed. I don't even know. You talk about a tax base. If those people leave, you're going to lose half your tax base of California.
So look, I want to be clear here. Look, you don't have to like the guy. I'm saying it again. He seems to be definitely, his number one priority is the economic repercussions of what's happening. He's not like saying, oh, my, hearts and prayers or thoughts and prayers. He's not doing any of that. But just put this speech right up against Joe Biden, who just talked about becoming a great grandfather and getting an applause and getting back in Air Force One. And then our previous clip we played earlier in the show with Karen Bass, literally with her mouth shut, going mute for minutes without anything to say. You have to admit, Craig, Trump is the only one here by default that looks presidential here. What is the problem with the CNNs and the viewers and the Vote Blue No Matter Whoers not understanding that? They still think Trump is the biggest problem of this scenario. What the hell is going on? Why are people not seeing that?
The main well, I don't know. It's selective hearing. It's confirmation bias, right? We're in the team sports mentality, so people are going to just choose to take the information they want to hear. But I do want to go a little detour off to the side, staying on the same topic. He looks the most presidential because the Democrats just look lost. And this is what you have. This is what you get when you have selections and not elections. You get, just the company man. As Al Pacino used to say, company man, the guy who just goes along, says whatever, a person who's not there based upon their performance. They're getting that job based behind rubbing elbows and doing whatever they have to do for the person who put them in charge. And that's why you have people who are going silent. And this has been going on for quite some time. When I got involved in elections, I was talking about the little guy, the grassroots people. And look what's happened. If you don't have the ability to fire people for doing a bad job, they're going to continue to do a bad job and only going to represent the donor. And that's what Gavin Newsom has been doing for quite some time. He hasn't earned his position. He's been given it to him. That whole recall he had was such a fraudulent thing when they recalled him. And they just used that recall to implement laws that a lot of people in the populist didn't even want. So, I mean, it's just this is more of the same that we're seeing playing out. And people have to start getting a hold of this whole situation and realizing the only way we can get to some form of justice is starting with transparency, opening up the doors and seeing everything, what they're doing, where they're taking their money, how they're taking their money, how they're spending the money. Everything that Donald Trump said there is said by somebody else. And he is a little misleading in one point, right? Like he's talking about the smelt and the water that's going out to the Pacific. We don't need the water from this smelt. We have the aqueduct. We need to use the water wisely. But just like the Republicans did during George W. Bush with the rolling blackouts and Enron and all those same other people who were responsible for that situation. And then it wasn't just Enron, meaning lights being turned on. We're talking about people freezing in Texas at one point, right? This goes on whether it be a Democrat or Republican, because at the end of the day, the donors who support both the Democrats and the Republicans, the donors who support Donald Trump, those are the ones who are going to benefit from this. So they like to keep us in this this left versus right paradigm. What's going on is that the fact is that they do have the water and it's not being allocated properly. Did somebody turn this off? What is going on? We need answers here, and we're not getting it. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people want to, on the right want to say, oh, it is woke policies with this smelt and whatnot, and they're doing this. No, listen, this is old school mafia style embezzlement, right? This is taking money from the taxpayer dollars, acting like you're doing something and putting it in your cronies' pockets and your self pockets and getting your kickbacks. That's what this is, and nobody's talking about it.
Yeah. 100%. And these are the conversations we're supposed to have. That's what you're supposed to push back on Trump about. What you said, that not pretend that he's some sort of just bully going after Newsom and lying. Like the fact is, look, he was on Joe Rogan. The more people saw that podcast. This is before the election. Donald Trump on Joe Rogan. More people saw that than any. I think that they're saying any podcast. It was his number one podcast ever. He was already the number one podcast. I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but I don't know if you remember that, Craig. They said that was the number one watched podcast we've ever seen. And on that show, it was like a 3-hour interview. He spent, I'm going to bring this tweet up. This just to remind you guys, this happened. There's a lot of people who saw this. So Colin Rugg tweeted this out. Donald Trump was mocked for sounding the alarm on California water fire crisis during his interview with Joe Rogan. Turns out he was right. He spent nearly 7 minutes ranting about the issue, blasting Newsom for doing nothing to fix the problem.
But water, in Los Angeles, you can't get proper amounts of water.
Right.
And it's unbelievably expensive. And you might have a house in Beverly Hills, and they're actually thinking about rationing water. Can you believe it?
I can believe it.
I was in the farm court country with some of the congressmen who were driving up a highway. And I say, how come all this land is so barren? It's farmland, and it looked terrible. It was just brown and bad. I said, but there's always that little corner that's so green and beautiful. They said, we have no water.
There was another section where he talked specifically about the fire problem. I don't know how far into
I know what Joe Rogan said. He was talking about, somebody came on the show and said there's nothing they can do about it. If it happened, there'd be a fire and that's it. And they're not doing anything to prevent this.
Okay. Yeah.
It's kind of what we talked about with Leo, right? Like Leo did point out something at the end of the day. It's like, yeah, well, there's something bigger than the fact that they're not just raking the yard, is what they're calling, raking all the dead wood out there and stuff like that. I think, once again, this is a multifaceted attack. Many things happen at once to cause this disaster. And at the end of the day, it is about money and about those who are choosing to grab all the land and the resources. Like I said, there's not a lot of lies there that Joe Rogan's that Donald Trump is talking about, but he follows up. He goes, because of this administration. Look, these problems in California, just like in Lahaina, Matt, they existed way before freaking any of these Democrats took office too as well. This is a multifaceted problem, and it's one party does what the other party can't do. It seems like when it comes to our foreign policy, if we want a serious war, get the Republicans involved. Get George W. Bush, they'll get it done, right?
Yeah.
If it's something that you want to reshape in the America and you want to get away some land, let the Democrats run in there and stuff. The Democrats listen to the environmentalists. And this is really hurting serious conversations when it comes to climate change, right? Like, not so much about climate change, but the fact is, how do we keep Mother Earth clean? I think that oil and pipelines and these companies should be responsible for what they do. I think that companies like all these electrical companies should be responsible for any type of damage they do. You know what I'm saying? But we're not doing that. And it just becomes, once again, this political battle, and people are just throwing shit left and right. And it's a shame, because we, the people, are the ones who are suffering.
Yeah. Well, look, you make a great point, Craig, regarding, like, it's obviously this is a problem with people in power. It's the Democrats and the Republicans. Obviously, Trump's going to blame it all on the Democrats. We have a lot of self-described right-wing populists that still say the failed policies are too much left-wing communist policies. They're stuck on that. They're stuck on that red versus blue. And you know what? Fine. Do your red versus blue crap. We're going to call out all of it. And now's the time to do it. Now's the time to say, California, you screwed up. So on one hand, Trump is right. This administration has done everything wrong, but it's just as bad as any Republican. The point is, our system doesn't work. It's a failed system. And we need to start all over altogether. This is what Babylon B. I want to end it with this, because I think this is really funny. Just to end this on a fun note, the real fake news update. We'll tie it all up with this. Look at that. Governor Newsom orders all trees to wear masks to prevent the spread of wildfires. That's our governor, you guys. That's him. This is the guy who knows when Anderson Cooper meets him out in front of someone's house that's burning down, Anderson Cooper's not going to ask him the real question. He's going to ask him, oh, is mean Trump hurting you? No, he's like, I'm not going to pay attention to mean Trump. That's the interview. Not going to talk about what is your COVID policy? Why did you put California on emergency, state of emergency for bird flu last week? Why is there $26 billion missing from the homelessness money that was allocated? There's questions that he will not be asked. So look, on one hand, Trump doesn't get to the bottom of it altogether, but at least he's being vocal. We just have to keep being vocal here on the Homeless Left and our outlets, and let them know the whole system is rigged, not just the Democratic Party. But that's our governor for you guys. And our state is failing. LA's burning to the ground in real time. And here we are. So thanks for you guys for being part of this discussion. Yeah, let's keep going, I guess. That's what we call real fake news update, not brought to you by Pfizer.